There are tone-deaf decisions, and then there's whatever this is. A slap in the puss to whatever the game of baseball is supposed to stand for, and instead reveals itself yet again to be nothing more than about the money, the PR value, and how what was once the venerable sport in America continues to play footsie and cover up with fans from the past who remember the facts, and those of the current generation who won't waste a single second learning about where the lies are buried. To open the 2026 season, Netflix and Major League Baseball have decided that the best way to sell the game to a new generation is to put Barry Bonds front and center as part of their broadcast team. Yes, that Barry Bonds, the all-time home run king, the walking chemistry experiment, the man whose late career body transformations look less like training and more like a Marvel origin story. The supposed perfect physique that deflated faster than Lauren Loomer's lips 10 minutes after she received her most recent filler injection. And we're all just, what? Supposed to roll with that? Act like nothing has happened? Let's not insult anybody's intelligence here. Bonds didn't just edge past history, he obliterated it under a cloud so thick you could bottle it and sell it as San Francisco fog. The Balco scandal, federal investigations, grand jury testimony, this isn't conspiracy theory territory. This is documented, dissected, and debated for decades. Even if you want to cling to the technicality that he was never formally suspended under MLB rules, that's not exoneration. That's a loophole big enough to drive a steroid truck through.
Why are we in that conversation?
Just looking around, there's a lot of people.
Just another negative question. I'm not going to get into that.
And ask yourself, why did that loophole exist? Because MLB, in its infinite wisdom, was happily cashing checks during the steroid era. Home runs were flying, ratings were soaring, and suddenly everybody in power developed selective blindness. The league didn't just look the other way. It practically handed out blindfolds at the door. So, now, 2026. Here we are. Bonds, years removed from a career that ended with his body shrinking faster than his credibility, is being handed a microphone and a platform. A storyteller, an ambassador, face of the game, a good guy. You just can't make this up. And if this feels familiar, it should. Alex Rodriguez, another admitted steroid user, has already been polished up and rebranded into a media mainstay. Smile, joke, analyze, cash checks, rinse, repeat. Redemption arcs are nice, but they usually involve, consequences first. What's missing here is any sense of accountability that actually sticks. Instead, we get revisionist history wrapped in high-definition streaming. Bonds becomes the quirky elder statesman, the lovable rogue, the guy with great stories. And somewhere along the way, the most obvious part of his legacy, the cheating, gets softened, blurred, or just conveniently ignored. Let's be blunt. Bonds didn't just bend the rules. He redefined what it meant to exploit them. His physical transformation alone was enough to raise eyebrows across 3 continents. His connection to Balco wasn't a rumor. It was central to one of the biggest performance-enhancing drug scandals in sports history. And yet, the outrage? Come on, barely a murmur. So ask yourself a question. Why? Simple. Because Major League Baseball wants it that way. Because controversy, once it stops costing money, becomes marketable nostalgia.
It was a time that occurred in our history, and you don't erase history no matter what.
Because a name like Barry Bonds still draws attention, and attention still sells. And if that means quietly burying the ugliest parts of the steroid era, well, let's just shovel faster, okay?
It is what it is. You can think all you want. There is no proof, as you said. There's never going to be proof. And you just deal with it. There's always going to be that talk about that era. That's the way it was. Whether it's right or wrong, it is.
As for Netflix, this feels less like bold programming and more like desperation dressed up as innovation. If your grand plan to grow the game hinges on rehabilitating one of its most polarizing figures without addressing why he's polarizing in the first place, that's not strategy. That's avoidance. And Netflix is proud of the fact they were the ones to finally pry Bonds out of his carefully crafted shell to quietly slip back into the mainstream. Forget the Barry Bonds who threw baseball bats around locker rooms when he didn't like reporters' questions.
Barry Bonds says he's to blame for his poor public image that's carried on with him throughout the years. I'm to blame for the way I was portrayed, because I was a dumbass. I was straight stupid, and I'll be the first to admit it, Bonds said.
Next question. Next question, because it was stupid.
Bonds has long had a reputation of being a bit surly with the media, so much so that there's a book about the former slugger called Love Me, Hate Me, Barry Bonds and the Making of an Anti-Hero. And from his Balco scandal and trial to his high-profile personal relationship problems with wives and girlfriends, he's given the media and the general public plenty of material.
Never mind the surly roid rager, who perfectly played the part of the harassed superstar. Pay no attention to the testimony of his former partner, Kimberly Bell, during his perjury trial, where she testified under oath that Bonds would cut off her head, leave her in a ditch, and burn her house down. Come on. Fans aren't stupid. They remember, or at least they should. In most cases, it's not a point of fans being stupid, though we do have to admit there are plenty who wear the stupid label proudly. Now, in most cases, it's just the usual apathy that trolls right behind the, well, that was then and this is now, weak-kneed excuse that leave people all nice and happy about their sport passion being, oh, so nice and clean. So here's the real question. When Barry Bonds sits there laughing, telling stories, breaking down swings, who's holding him accountable for the biggest swing of all? Because if the answer is no one, then this isn't just a broadcasting decision. This is a full-blown rewrite of history. And it smells exactly like what you think it does. Old jockstraps and all.